Well, now it seems that straight men in bromances kiss, cuddle, and stand around naked together. Alright, if you're a bit tight for time, I can save you 10 or 15 minutes. No, they don't. Now, okay, on with the video. Right, so somebody sent me this and asked me for a comment, and I'm happy to comment because I thought, whoa, there's a bit of something I didn't know. I've heard this whole bromance thing. There was no such thing as bromance when I was a lad. I think when did it start popping up with the Brad Pitt and Ben Affleck type gang? They were all sort of into bromances and all that, which was some kind of, I don't know, modern term for guys who just, I don't know, hung out together. We used to just call them friends back in the day, or pals, or buddies. That's what we used to call them. But this whole bromance thing seems to have, gotten into fashion, and it's anyway. As usual, these things kind of get a bit out of hand. So, bromance, does it involve kissing, cuddling, and standing around naked? In my experience, no. The guys who do that are not straight. They're not. Let's have a look at where this all came from, because these things always come from somewhere. This is the piece that was sent to me, and it is from Metro. All right, okay, we've had them before. Yeah, they have some stuff in there. Right, and they say the headline is from Chris Caulfield: straight men in, quote, bromances kiss, cuddle, and stand around naked together. There's a couple of lads. Right, straight men often kiss, it says here, and cuddle, according to new research into bromances. Let's read on. One of the benefits of being in a bromance was the ability to have cuddle with friends. Undergraduate students who took part in a study on male friendships have said. The only time I've really seen lads, if you like, cuddling is on a football field when somebody scores a goal. That's all I could really come up with that I could think of, or if somebody was commiserating with somebody at a funeral or something. That's about it, really. Anyway, let's read on, see what Chris has to say here in Metro. According to research published in Sex Roles, a journal of research, there is a strong desire to cuddle and hug between bromantic friends. No, there isn't. While kissing is just another way of showing affection. Again, no, it isn't. Not with guys, it isn't. Straight guys. Unless something has radically shifted in the male part of the species, I can't buy into this at all. One of the students involved told the authors, you can, quote, lie in bed with your bromance, have a cuddle and just talk. I don't know where he was questioning these 30 undergrad students. Was it in the Blue Oyster Bar? Oh, no. Yeah. While another said he understood it as having a cuddle buddy. A third thought cuddling, hugging, and sex jokes were core part of a bromantic friendship. A bromance has been defined as, quote, an emotionally intense bond between straight men. Now, look, close friendships between guys, I'm speaking as a guy here, what I am. You can develop very close friendships with guys, like really deep, close bonding friendships, and especially if you go and you look at in times of, say, war, where you look at some of the old war movies where you had men essentially bonding. It was they were all kind of a hair's breadth from the Grim Reaper all the time. So they would have developed these intense heterosexual friendships with other men, and which even after the conflict goes on, you'll often see, and I'm sure you have heard of these kind of clubs or veteran societies, vets as they call them in the States, because this bond that they develop, completely straight, no kissing and cuddling and standing around naked, unless you count, in the locker room changing your clothes or something, but it's not really, it's not really that kind of vibe. So these things can go all through your life, and I think it has ever been thus. It's always been like that. So no, kissing, cuddling, and standing around naked, I don't buy into this at all. Anyway, research, okay. In its conclusion, the authors wrote, let's get back to basics. The authors wrote, quote, they spoke about their desire to cuddle and hug with their bromantic friends. Some agreed that this was the case when asked, whereas others offered it unsolicited as part of their definition of a bromance. Well, their definition of a bromance is not my definition of a bromance. And I would say the vast majority of straight men's definition of a bromance, unless the young millennial generation or Gen Z or whoever came after them, unless their whole worldview and their whole ethos of what it is to be a straight man, has completely changed. I can't see it, lads. I can't see it. In all, 29 of the 30 men who took part said they had cuddled their romantic partner. Well, as I said before, if you're playing football or somebody scores a goal, yeah, I mean, technically, you see it every week on the TV if you watch any football or any sports, team sports of lads. Yeah, technically it's a cuddle, but I don't think there's any sexual underpinnings there. The latest work also backs a 2012 study that found 89% of 145 surveyed undergraduate heterosexual men had kissed on the lips.
Wait a minute!
Really? Really? 89%? I can't. Maybe I just hang around with the wrong lads. One participant said, quote, guys nowadays in my generation, there is so much kissing between guys because it's showing affection. His generation, well, it's not my generation, because it wasn't that way. Another added, I hug and kiss my bromance and tell him I love him. It doesn't sound like what straight guys do. It just doesn't. Participants also talked about how comfortable they were to be naked around their bromances. One participant said, quote, I live in a house with 3 other guys and there are massive romances going on between us. I don't know what, it sounds like there's something going on between you, but I don't think it's bromances. Alright, who we got next? Queerty. Let's see what queerty has to say about this. Alright, from Graham Gramore. Bromance has maybe changed the way straight couples live. From Queerty. A couple of lads there. I don't think that's not a bromance. A new study out of Winchester University finds that the vast majority of straight guys now prefer their bromances over romances with women, and that it may be affecting traditional domestic living arrangements between men and women. Really? A total of 30 male undergrads, we got that. That was published in Men and Masculinities, and they were basically saying that's all great. We're going to kiss each other all the time and basically just hanging around with our clothes off, in the buff, and it's all marvellous. Adam White, who authored the study, says the key thing that we found was that bromances were somewhat more flexible and judgment-free relationships comparable to romances. All right, so I get where he's going with that. So he's kind of saying, look, there isn't the whole drama, trauma, and all this stuff that can go on in a typical heterosexual relationship, and I assume in a same-sex relationship too. Romance can be a pretty can be difficult to navigate at times. Ups and downs. Yeah, plenty of ups and downs. But it's great. He continues, the guys we spoke to were clear that the only differences, other than sex, were that bromances were less judgmental, easier to resolve problems or arguments, and much more emotionally open than romances. 28 of the 30 respondents said they preferred to talk about important emotional issues with their bromantic partners rather than with their girlfriends. Well, again, going back to the old days, and I realised, look, I can be out of touch with stuff. It has has happened once or twice. You have a totally different dynamic. Speaking as a straight heterosexual male, you have a totally different dynamic with your male friends. You just do, because it's not a romantic thing. It's a totally different level, and you can kind of say stuff that you might not perhaps discuss with your girlfriend, because there's more of a, they can kind of understand from your perspective, say, more than a female would. And I'm sure the same exact thing goes for women who would discuss things with their girlfriends that they may not discuss with their boyfriend or husband, or perhaps they wouldn't discuss them in quite the same way. That's probably more accurate. Yeah, they might just discuss things in a certain different way, because again, there's a sort of affinity there between people of the same sex. You know, they're more kind of tuned in to the little nuances of being a guy or being a female. Anyway, let's read on. One of the participants, named Brad, explains, quote, "There are absolutely things I tell my bromances and not the girlfriend. She expects so much from the relationship and will have a go if I say something out of line." She'll have a go if he says something out of line. Really, Brad? You sure you're with the right woman? And with Matt, we just tell each other everything. Okay, I think that says more about the girlfriend than it does about bromances. Anyway, Brad, good luck to you. White says the vast majority of the guys reported feeling that there was, quote, less regulation in their bromantic relationships. They didn't feel, again, quote, they didn't feel like there was a standard to be kept or adhered to. Therefore, they could express their feelings and anxieties and worries without being judged by their girlfriends. And on the occasions where conflict did occur, it was seen as easier to fix with their bromances rather than their romances. A couple of lads getting in there. Yeah, okay. And when it comes to stuff like hugging and kissing their bros, many of the guys said they were down with that. All right. Okay. All right. Well, again, if it's not on the field of sports, I don't know. Not sure about that. One participant named Beck. Beck? Is that a name? One participant named Beck explains, quote, "Guys nowadays in my generation, there's so much kissing between guys because it's showing affection." It's clearly a different generation to mine, because there was none of that. This study also found that guys are more willing to openly pronounce love. Or they're hold on. Willing to openly pronounce love there for one another than they were in the past. That they are less worried about appearing effeminate. Well, yeah, I can kind of get that, all right, because we do live in a much more malleable age where, you know, being, you know, LGBT, whatever color of the rainbow you happen to be, is totally accepted now. It's even, you know, in some circles counted as kind of cool to be in that part of society. And, you know, why not? I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I don't feel particularly disenfranchised that we have moved to that space. So I can kind of get that, maybe the younger generation, the people coming up, they have a much more open, a less rigid view of the whole thing and how they behave. All right, well, I'll just finish off because I don't want to labour this one. It's not a big thing. I just thought it was a bit kind of humorous when I saw the title. This is from Psychology Today. Let's get a doctor in. See what we can make of this from Rich C. Savin Williams, PhD, from Psychology Today. Bromance, I love you in a heterosexual way. Really, a bromance might be a cover for men who have a romantic attraction to other men. Says the PhD. Right. So is this just a kind of a flag of convenience for somebody who might be a little bit, you know, a little bit on the fence and a little bit not wanting to kind of put it all out there, and they're kind of flying under this flag of convenience here, when in actual fact there is possibly some little undercurrents, shall we say. Let's see what the PhD, let's see what the good doctor says. One question raised by several young men I interviewed during the past decade was whether a bromance counts as a marker of romantic orientation. A bromance is generally understood to be a same-sex, non-sexual male friendship that is nevertheless exceptionally affectionate and intimate. Their homosocial bonding exceeds usual male friendships and, in some circumstances, matches or surpasses heterosexual romance. I didn't know that's what bromance meant. Well, this is psychology today, so I guess they should know what they're talking about. Right, so a bromance is not just you and your mates, or you and a really good mate. They're saying that it's more than that. It's kind of a level above that. All right, fair enough. As noted in research from Eric Anderson's lab, quote, our participants mostly determined that a bromance offered them elevated emotional stability, enhanced emotional disclosure, social fulfillment, and better conflict resolution compared to the emotional lives they shared with girlfriends. Clearly, bromances resemble, quote, traditional expectations of romantic companionship, namely the declarations of love, kissing, cuddling, and exclusive emotional confidence. I would say these are the hallmarks of a romantic orientation. Well, I would agree with you, yeah, that pretty much sounds like you're tipping over, you're going over the edge there and you're into something that's just totally different. Bromance as a concept became quite popular, even somewhat trendy. Think Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, or Adam Levine and Blake Shelton. I know who Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, I don't know who the other lads are. The media, of course, has entered the conversation, offering modern interpretations of bromance. Okay, yeah, so you can see where he's going there. He's saying, look, this thing has kind of gotten into the public discourse. Of course, the media will jump on any of this thing. And there's also a very big push, I find nowadays, to really highlight and to ram home this whole LGBT agenda, as in to get it completely normalized, to get it completely accepted, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing, and it should be normalized because it is normal, and it should be accepted. And I don't think very few people would disagree with that in today's age. It should have always been that way. It wasn't, but there you go. Right, let's just get down to the end and see how he finishes this off. The question of whether a bromance is a platform for an infatuation or a crush in disguise, or if bromance partners can be totally straight rather than fall under the bisexual umbrella, must remain undecided. Certainly, men can have a crush on or fall in love with a member of the same sex without having sex, just as having sex with a same-sex individual does not mean they are romantically in love with that person. I have a lingering suspicion that defining an emotional, seemingly romantic relationship between two men as a bromance is an attempt to conceal or deny their romantic attraction to each other. As to the fundamental question, my perspective is, yes, we should count bromance as an indicator of romantic orientation, which may or may not be linked with sexual orientation. Why not just call it what it is? What is so wrong with two straight men being in love, infatuated with each other? Straight women do it all the time. Let's just celebrate it, says the doctor. Okay, yeah, well, there you go. There's a whole lot of layers to that onion, isn't there? As I said, this was not a thing that I ever remember being kind of bandied around the locker room or the clubhouse when I was young, or teenage years, or anything like that. You had friends of different kind of stripes, different levels. You had really close friends, if you were lucky, and then you had kind of other people that were in your general circle or your general orbit. It didn't really go anywhere apart from that. Anything that went beyond those bounds, well, we had a name for it: gay. That was that simple. So they seem to be putting a few more layers on this thing here, and it's hard to really know, because everything now is being kind of disassembled, and nothing is anything, and nothing can be solid, and nothing can be have a shape on it. It all must be malleable, it all must be fluid, and that seems to be the trend in pretty much everything in modern society. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, this whole thing of men standing around kissing, cuddling, and, you know, getting their kit off, does it happen with straight men? No. As I said in the beginning, just no. It doesn't happen. So there you go. Could have saved you the 15 minutes, but thanks for sticking with it. And good luck with your bromances out there, lads.